Okay. Seems like my connection's not perfect today, so sorry about that. See what happens here. Okay, we've got a couple of new people, so I want to go over a couple of concepts. The lower dantian, the tendon, 2 or 3 centimeters below the navel. Okay, so maybe you could even think about a little kind of golden egg in the middle of the belly, not the skin on the belly, not the lower back, but in the middle there, kind of 2 or 3 centimeters below the navel. And then this interesting place, there's a horizontal plane on the ground, and then perpendicular to that, there's this pure vertical line. And we can kind of think about the tendon along that pure vertical line. There's a spot below or behind the pad of the foot here, and we call that the bubbling well. And then straight above the ears is the ba way point, okay? And it's like a thread is gently pulling the top of the head up from the ba way point above the ears. The lower body is sinking, connected, sinking into the earth, okay? And the upper body is floating up to the heavens. So we've always got this sense of sinking and rising, and the body wants to do this. It's not, we don't have to put it on top of what the body's already doing. The body wants to open up this way, sinking into the middle of the earth and then rising up to the heavens. We want to keep our elbows heavy here. Okay, Victor and Jessica. We want to keep the elbows heavy here, okay? So if your elbows are heavy, then you're using the ground to move from, okay? If my elbows come out like this, then I'm, the kinetic chain is stopping at my shoulder, okay? So we want to move from the ground, like the ground is this wall that I can use to move from. I'm using the wall as a stable platform to use to move my body from, okay? Give your weight all to the ground and stand up from the ground. Okay, let's get started. Pouring the weight into the left leg, mobilizing the right ankle. On this Thursday class, I like to do a little more movement. So we'll see how we do with that today. Pouring the weight into that left bubbling well. Stacking the body like a stack of books through the top of the head. And changing direction. In this work, you shouldn't hurt your joints. So anytime you're doing this work and you think, well, my joints are bothering me, my knees bother me, but it's probably for a good reason. I would always back off there. Don't hurt your joints at all. This should be something we can do for a long time and not damage the joints. Pouring the weight into the other leg. Stacking. Mobilizing. The other ankle, the other lower leg. Really all the way through the whole leg, through the hip. Our bodies are like kinked hoses and we're learning to release. Oh, I can let go there, I can let go there. I don't need to grip there. And changing direction. And the knees, I'm putting my hands on my knees, but I'm not putting pressure on my knees here. I'm just gently doing nice little circles. Everybody, please mute yourself if you haven't muted yourself. Thank you. And change in direction. We have a call after this class. We have a discussion chat after this, and please join if you can. And then we have the mini retreat on Saturday for those that can join. Now taking my feet to shoulder width and nice circles with the hips. Just really simple. You don't want to max out your body here. I'm not putting my hips out as far as I can. I'm keeping it a little bit conservative. So my movements are simple. They're not extreme. Changing direction. Great, 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 great. How about finding the ground? Again, it's this wall, and from the ground, let's stand up through that and roll the shoulders forward from the ground. Use the ground, use that bubbling well slightly behind the pad of the foot, and from there, roll the shoulders forward. So I've got to release through my body as much as I can to roll the shoulders forward from the ground. Anywhere I'm gripping, I'm trying to release. So it's a creative process in releasing. Oh, I could let go a little bit there. How could I do that? Tongue on the roof of the mouth behind the top teeth. And then rolling the shoulders back from the ground. Find the ground and roll the shoulders back from there. And you'll notice where you're gripping, like, oh, I'm gripping in my back. I can feel that. I'm not as open in my back as I could be, or wherever it is for you. That's where the hose is kinked, and I'm using the movements as a laboratory to discover that. Pouring the weight into one leg, and then from that leg, I'm connecting through the pelvis, what they call the quad here, where the leg meets the pelvis, sinking and connecting from the left leg through the quad to the opposite shoulder and rolling that shoulder forward. And I'm sinking into the other leg and rolling the opposite shoulder forward. Again, we're using the ground and we're using the movement to see, oh, I'm not quite as open there. I could creatively learn to soften through there. And then rolling the shoulders back one at a time, sinking, rolling. Great, great, great. Boy, feels like the connection's not great. Is that true?
I'm getting you very clearly, but you
Okay,
might
good.
not be getting us clearly.
Okay, great. If you got me clear, that's great.
Clear on my end too.
Okay, perfect. Let's move into our Jamjong. My feet are parallel, shoulder width. And we've got to start to be interested in, what are these bodies in space? What's really going on? Maybe what I thought of my body, maybe how I hold myself, maybe that could change. Maybe how I orient myself in space, maybe I could get curious about that and that could change. Wherever I'm gripping in my structure, do I need to grip there? There's a pure vertical line from the ground coming up through the body, and I'm beginning to organize around that pure vertical line. So if there's a horizontal plane perpendicular to that line is coming through my body, and I'm giving myself to that line. And wherever I'm kind of fighting that line, I'm trying to soften into that. Okay? Finding the bubbling well slightly behind the pad of the foot. Releasing the feet. Let the toes all kind of, we're not goats. Let your whole foot under the ground. The lower legs are tricky, trying to feel and soften the lower legs. The knees are bent. Don't lock the knees, always keep them bent. The pelvic floor, the perineum, a little sense of engagement through there. For me, for those who've been doing this a while, it's the same feeling as when I touch the tongue on the roof of the mouth, the pelvic floor is the same feeling for me. It's like we're connecting that battery. And then feeling the tendon, the lower dantian. Just curious about that. You don't need to make it happen. Just curious about that. Soften the body, let the lower body sink into the earth. And then the upper body is floating and relaxed. Let the chest soften, and behind the chest, let that soften. Really tricky. Let the collarbones release. Let the base of the skull be buoyant. The tongue is on the roof of the mouth, behind the top teeth. And I would lay that tongue along the roof of the mouth all the way back if you can, as far as feels comfortable. But lay the tongue on the roof of the mouth, and I would just leave it there all day. It's really good for, the sleep apnea, etc. All that could be really helped by tongue placement. Eyes are open and soft. Like you're staring at a spot on the horizon, just gently stare at that. And above the ears, this thread is gently pulling the top of the head up. That will naturally tuck the chin, and there's space underneath the armpits, like a racquetball is there. My arms are a little bit round and soft. Okay, my arms are a little bit round here, and my hands are full, like there are cotton balls in between, kind of like they're blowing up like a balloon, the hands. And they're out to the side here. This is Wuji, the first posture. And we're not controlling the breath. We're not directing the breath. We're not trying to control the energy at all here. Sinking, like we're sitting down on a bar stool or a yoga ball. So you want to feel like you're sitting a little bit. I'm sinking through this quad here. So I'm not leaning on my toes and I'm not leaning on my heels. I'm going straight down. And that might be a little bit awkward at first. And from here, I'm letting my arms drift up to about the height of the heart. Okay. You can see the outer part of my hands, and my middle fingers are pointing at each other. My thumbs are buoyant. They're not flying out, but they're buoyant. Okay. I'm sinking, I'm sitting down on that yoga ball. Tongue is on the roof of the mouth. And here I'm in this posture. I'm not holding it rigidly. I'm seeing, how could I hold this posture the most delicately, like the vulgar gripping of the body, we can release that little by little by little. Anywhere my body is gripping, could I soften there? It's like you're gently holding a little beach ball between the knees. Okay, so you want your knees to be feeling a sense of connection here. Don't let your knees fly out here. We want to gently hold that beach ball. Don't crush it. And from there, we feel this sense of a connection from the center of the body through this, what we call the central channel. And we feel like our arms are kind of floating on that, this expansiveness through the central channel. We're not chasing that ball away, okay? There's a sense of, I can feel support to my hands from my feet. And wherever I'm gripping in between, I release. Even though I'm not, it doesn't look like I'm moving externally. I'm constantly in dialogue here with releasing. So wherever I start to grip a little bit, I release. And you want to feel that sense of down. Like when I look at people, I want to have this sense that they're sinking. You don't have to be a hero, but we want to have a little sense of sitting, sinking down. Don't control the breath. Don't direct the breath. That's about 5 minutes. We're going to do 5 more here. But if you are a new person, 5 minutes is great. Do 5 minutes. And I think the thing with this work is you have to do it consistently. And what will happen is over time, doing it every day if possible, 5 minutes, your body will start to change. And then you go and you do 5.5 minutes. When 5 is doable, do 5.5 or 6. And then 6 is doable, do 6.5 or 7. And what will happen is your body will start to change over time, and it will start to unify in this really interesting way. You become stronger. How could I become stronger? By standing still. It's because the body starts to kind of unify and work together rather than kind of fighting itself. much of the trip of this work is that when we start to do it and we really get into it, really weird things start to come through the system, and it starts to open up in these ways that they're just way out of the box. We never would have expected it, and then we've got to learn to let that happen, and that's a whole creative process. Letting the body reveal how to open is just totally a creative, wild process. Wherever you're gripping, like, okay, maybe you're there and you're pretty relaxed, but what you've really done is you relaxed most of your body, and then you took, your lower back, and then you kind of made it into concrete. So you got the concrete back, and then everything else is relaxed. Instead, try to release everything. And what happens? What if you released everywhere? Could you hold your body up? What if there's something else, a new way of being in space that your body could release, and it could stay filled up, even though you're not gripping to make that happen? The awareness in the tanden, the lower dantian. Let it fill the body. Remember, you've got a back of the body, or not just the front, You're not just like this camera looking forward. Fill out the whole body like a mountain. The mountain is three-dimensional. When you hit your limit with this work, it's good to take a little break. So if you're there and you're like, I'm relaxed, I've hit my limit, I'm just kind of getting through it. My system starts to feel like I'm amping up. I'd go back to Wuji and just sit in that. Be back in Wuji and let your body just reboot. And over time, that line will change where you're able to kind of stay with it longer and longer and longer. Great, great, great. Really simple, and letting the arms slowly drift back down. Coming back into Wuji, and let the body again kind of reboot, like maybe the arms sit somewhere differently than they normally do, and the knees are soft. The pelvis is kind of finding a new location because that central channel is waking up. The body starts to relax around that central channel. Where we normally grip, we see, oh, I don't need to grip because that central channel is there. I can just release into that. I like on this class to do a little bit more movement, so let's go into that. My feet are parallel right now, and I'm going to just rotate them 45 degrees here. Okay. So I was here and I just went 45 degrees, and now I'm here and I'm still parallel. Okay. And I want to remain in the ground here. remain rooted in the ground like there are tree roots growing from my knees down into the ground. Okay, that doesn't mean your feet can't adjust while you're moving. You can adjust your feet a little if you need to, but just like staying magnetized to the center of the earth. And my lower body is going to stay full and dynamic and connected. Okay, take this ball out in front of the belly. And now I'm going to shift all my weight to that back leg, pouring my weight down into that. I'm in my right leg, back into that right leg. And from here, I'm taking that ball up, out, down, back. Those that have been doing this a while, as we sink into that right leg and the arms come up, we're opening the right quad, turning to the left, pouring the weight down through the left quad, down through the center of the leg to the bubbling well and coming back. And you want to feel the ground the whole time. So if I'm doing the movement and I feel the ground, I'm in the ground, and then I'm just in my upper body, that's where you're tight in your pelvis, is that place where you leave the ground. I'm going to change a little position here just so people can see me. I'm sinking and I'm using the ground. My arms can just let go and I'm using the ground. It's like the whole time I'm using the ground to make the movement happen. I'm releasing the whole upper body. You can go as fast as feels right. Find a pace where it feels like you're interacting with the room, like you're going a little bit deeper. You want to stay kind of rooted in that lower body. Changing direction, going out, up, back, and down. Keep your knees safe, keep your knees over your feet. Let the whole central channel shine through the whole upper body, through the top of the head. You got to kind of keep that energy through the top of the head, or you'll kind of collapse. You won't feel the buoyancy through the hands. Great, great. And then let's change. I'm going to the back to the other side. I've rotated, and now my back leg is my left leg, and I'm sinking. Use the ground to move. So I feel like I'm just leaning against the ground to make all the movement happen. Find the pace that works for you, tongue on the roof of the mouth, of course. Some of you, you're doing this and then you start to just feel like you get all clogged up. Let's change direction, going out, up, back, and down. When you start to feel kind of clogged up, that's where you've got to change your pace and you've got to feel, oh, okay, I can harmonize with this. Great, 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 great. Coming back. How about we hold that ball out in front of the belly and maybe just looking to see if that ball feels a little more real, that the field feels a little more active, like the whole room feels a little more alive. And let's just real simple, let's take that ball around the lower body. Just like we're in a lake up to our waist and we're taking that lake water around in a circle. And like if we're at the right pace, all the movements just drive us deeper into the ground. They just, our lower body just sinks into the ground and the upper body can float up. There's a pace where everything will feel a little more substantial, like, oh, I really am moving. I'm kind of moving through that fullness. And then change in direction and go the other way. This side's different than the other. This direction's different, and we've got to creatively find a way to connect creatively. Great, great, and bringing the ball back in front. How about we take that ball and we just turn it? So as I turn and I bring my right hand over on top, I'm sinking into that left leg. Okay. And now as I turn that ball again and I pour my weight into my right leg, my left hand comes up over top. Just taking that ball and rotating it. Let the whole body increase that feeling through the hands, whatever the body's doing, trying to soften so that this feeling through the hands, this fullness through the hands becomes more real, more palpable. What if we take that ball and we just go up, out, down, back, and the whole body is just one unification making this happen. So if there's division in the body, segmenting happening, could the whole body be involved in the movement? Like every cell is going in the same direction. Doing this type of thing, feeling like I could get every cell going in the same direction. This is, in a way, it's very, very similar to when I was working on the Mook hole on it. It's like everything started to come into oneness, and that overflowing of that oneness was the shouting of the Mu in the Sanzen room. Then change of direction, going down, up, back. If you feel like um, if you don't feel good, if you feel like you're kind of fighting the process, could you change the way you're interacting with it? Could you get all your cells going in one direction? This is a lot of what I was working on. I just felt like I was fighting myself, always kind of going in 5 directions at once. And oh, I could all go in one direction. Great, great, great. Maybe we should let the system process a little bit. Let's just stand in Wuji or in the non-directed and just see what the system is doing now, how it wants to open up. What if I could just release? What if there wasn't like I'll release, but I'll do this, I'll release, but I'll keep the safety valve on. What if I just released? When the energy starts to fill and the condon starts to wake up, it's usually kind of a little bit shocking, a little bit strange. Like, you mean I've been doing this for so long and it's really like this? It can be like that, just very a different gear you never used, and can be like you feel like you're going backwards, like you're all of your efforts are there and then there's something else happening and you just release all that effort and let this thing happen, which is there happening, trying to happen. I think some of you, there's this aspect where you do your practice and you're really good and you doing the right thing, and but there's this part of you, there's something else here, and I'm curious about that. This is a space to let that express. maybe you thought you were doing one thing, and then as you really look closer, you see, oh, there's something else going on, and that's really interesting. And we're learning to kind of let that through. Notice if you don't get a sense of the content somehow. At times, like, what is something showing up there? And it may be just under the radar. Oh, that's interesting. Something's there. You may not again pick it up on radar, but it's a subtle thing. Oh, I feel something there. And I feel that in the top of my head. I maybe feel it in my lower back. I maybe feel it in my feet and my hands. I feel the fullness in my hands, I feel from that subtle filling of the belly. Just a little hint there, just a hint of that possibility in there. It's gonna be strange. How about just slowly come back? Let's take the ball up out in front and then sinking into that lower body and letting that ball come up. And we're just taking that ball up through the body and we're releasing any stickiness up into the heavens. And then down your body, down. And it's like that ball is kind of coming down and washing through the system like honey, just kind of melting down through. And wherever your body's a little bit sticky, you could just try to just let that ball just kind of melt it. If you don't like the ball, just this energy coming down and just melting through wherever you're stuck. And then at the waist, turning the hands down and going down the body, down into the earth. Then up at your own pace, coming back up. Watch the kidneys. Back out front. And let's just totally release. Let's do our three big movements, gathering three big movements down to the lower dantian.
Got it.
Wait. Great, and let's rub down the body, rub and down the body. Right. All right. I'm gonna give a bow. We've got our social hour discussion right now, so let's take a bathroom break and come on back. Yeah, please join us if you can. Okay. We got a couple minutes, but good to see everybody. Sounds like the I don't know what's going on here. I'm having a crazy Zoom day. Okay, who wants to be the host here? Because I keep diving out of here. June, are you around the whole time here? You around for this? I'm
Yeah,
gonna make
yeah,
you.
yeah. Yeah, I'm here.
Can I make you host?
Yeah, sure.
And then,
Um,
because yeah, I think I did it. Because I think I keep diving out of here for some reason. There, Zoom's against me today. So let's see how we do.
do you want me to record, by the way? Oh, he's gone again. Corey, do you want me to record?
I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna restart my computer. So y'all go ahead. I'll be right there.
Oh, yeah, Corey, do you want me to record?
Yes, please.
Someone already is, it looks like. There's a recording.
Oh, thank you. Yes. I don't know how to see these things, I guess, but I see it now. Well, how's everyone's practice going? Now that Corey's run away from us, we can we can say the real stuff.
Always inadequate, never enough. And then occasional woo wee, shiny toys, fascination, and then more dissatisfaction.
David, where are you right now? Are you in Portland?
I am in Portland, Oregon, 97211.
Okay, cool. But you're not at Great
Nah,
Valley.
no.
You was there like it like a housing thing with them or something you're doing though?
Yeah, actually, I am living in like a temple adjacent practice house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you go like every morning and do zazen and everything kind of thing? Or?
We have like a little like living room sangha which we telecast,
Okay.
Zoomcast,
So you
but
don't go there.
my fidelity to such things is poor, and I have unresolved issues which I really haven't unpacked or that fully explored around healing work versus Zen work, really being more in a healing space, keeping people outside of my life because I'm scared I'm too broken or defective and they'll disown me, and all kinds of other personal melodrama, and a certain kind of distrust of other people. I want to do it my way. I know what's best, even though it's not working. And it's like, it's bloody ridiculous, but I don't quite know how to drop it. It's like I'm just clinging for dear life to my shit. It's like I can just feel it.
But you look very relaxed anyway.
There's definitely distinct relaxation, there's distinct sinking, there's distinct boards of tension, and I think a lot of the craziness has been like Corey recently said something about often talks about like the head shining up. My head's just like it's only been recently that my head started like tipping forward. It's been like just locked up here. And I didn't realize until recently how much tension I hold in my arms. Holy hell, like they were in a continual, they still are largely, but just like fight response, and like energy couldn't move down, just like no bueno.
Hey, does anybody worry? Hey, does anybody worry that if they really let go, that everybody would die? Do any of you worry about that? Like, if I really let go, everybody here would just die. Do you worry about that? Anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? You ever had that feeling? Like, if I did that, if I really let go, everybody'd fucking die. You know? Anybody think that? No. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Think it's funny because people, we talk about like being the universe and stuff, and that seems so esoteric, but I think like when you said that, I thought like, well, I think a lot of people deep down feel like if they really let go, just the whole universe would collapse, you know? Like I think that's like really real for most people.
And then big relief when you find out you're not really that important.
No, Anna left. Would you say, Elizabeth?
I just said that then there is a big relief when you find out you're not that important.
In the long walks we do sometimes in Japan, we kind of like cut out at night and go walk over the mountain, and um people will be talking, and one story people would tell sometimes is that there's a story of this kind of entity, this like he didn't have a body anymore, he just this entity, and he's just there, and people are like, well, why are you still there, why are you here? And he says, I'm impatient. you know it's like these things that are holding on to us. It's like he doesn't have a body anymore, but he's still impatient. It's like, what are these things that are gripping us, things that are holding us? It's interesting. Anyway, um, it's interesting. I like June hosting the meeting. What's June saying? I want to hear. I'm gonna read that because people who will watch this, they can't see it. So Michael says, I have no idea what I'm afraid of if I let go, but I'm afraid. Otherwise, we get this little card afterwards and no one can see it, of what people wrote in the chat. Mostly about not knowing what the fuck I am doing, Michael says. Sorry, I had to pop out there. My computer was doing weird stuff. How's everyone doing? And I'd love to hear from people. You know, Joe, can you give us a soundbite?
No. Is that coming through? Yeah, my laptop camera is broken, so I've just been using a combination of phone and yeah, I don't know what to say really, but yeah, I've been maybe I've not been feeling great. I mean, I can say that. But it's partly just down to it just feels like there's an extra demand to deeper level of letting go, like we're talking about, really. And until I can do that, it feels a bit. Yeah, I don't feel great. So.
I hear you. I hear you. I love that. No, I love it. It's hard.
Yeah, and then there's like flashes of the other side, and there's like I think there was Chris. Chris was on the other day. He was talking about it. I hadn't seen him for a while, but he just really touched me.
Yeah.
And there's this thing about divine consolation. You can let go of everything, and it feels a bit shitty when you're doing it, but really letting go into those depths there's nothing that can touch it really. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. What a great group. Anyone else want to chime in there or um about that or bring up your own thing? We're um kind of in the midst of this immersion. Some things will start to kind of cook up, some things will kind of come up for people. Most people here have been doing this a while, so maybe not quite as abruptly these things come up, but I'd love to hear from people.
Um, I don't really know what I'm gonna say, except that I just had a session with you, Corey, yesterday on the table. And I can say today that was a very helpful for practice. And I just am wondering how just very reasonable it is to have help with all of this, to have lots of support, lots of relaxation practice. Um, and well, just any and everything and anything that will support the relaxation. Wow. Really helpful. And in a way where nothing is entirely solved or taken off my plate, but I have a very doable place from within. Not that's not the right words, but it's just I can do what I have to do from a nicer place with lots of um balance, work-life balance. Anyway, for what it's worth, getting on your table is very helpful.
Thank you. All right. Love it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I think people kind of want to fit this stuff in, like I'm busy, and then I got a little bit of time and I'll try to fit it in, and it um that isn't usually. We need time. We need time and we need space to give to it. And yeah, if it's just kind of fit in here and there, it's not really enough usually to let the system let go, to have the system overflow these words, that come through. I think it can be really we need the time. We need the time to be able to do it. Yeah, and support. I hear you. I hear you. Support. Absolutely. I wanted to go back real quick to Joe for a second, and just say like, there are certain, whatever, there are types that come to this work, and some people, they had something happen to them, which opened them up. And that happening kind of really just made their whole life kind of about this thing. And and letting that happen. And it's like the system had really touched something, and then the rest of the system has to learn how to get with that and let that happen. And it's like this cellular transformation necessity to do that, because it's like the system can't really it can't handle functioning once it's touched that. It has to meet that, and that's what the process is really like about for some animals in this work. And so it's like there isn't like, well, I'm doing this sometimes when it's convenient, you know what I mean? I'm not doing this when uh, when the Netflix show is over, I'm gonna, I'll work on this, you know what I mean? It's like this is all the time. It's something that they're existing in space, and that's how do I exist here in this room right now? And and then that's really beautiful, and it's hard, but it's really beautiful. And that's a certain animal. There are lots of animals in this group, and that's great. I love that, but just saying there, in some ways they talk about it. There are these bodies, and there's like a karmic body, which is like this kind of super deep body. And then there are these bodies, and then like our physical body is a part of that. And so it's like when we have some opening, that karmic body kind of gets opened up. And then the rest of these kind of bodies in the Taoist, some of the Taoist models, there are these bodies, and they have to kind of come along with the process. And often it's really tricky, and it takes a long time to kind of bring those together to being kind of harmonized with that. And anyway, I know that animal, and it's beautiful, and it's hard, and I get it. And it's there are certain people, I'm just calling that out because I know there are certain people in the group that are kind of like that. And I think I know that personally, so it's beautiful. And I wish it was a little bit more, maybe that's why I'm doing this work, because there are just some aspects like this that you don't ever really hear about. You don't hear about this, and whatever Zen groups or whatever, they don't really go into this type of thing. And I find that kind of embarrassing. And I'm sad that they don't exist, because I personally, I feel like for the most part, the old masters have been through some version of this. They've all been through this process. And so if that's not talked about, I feel like it's not really deep what they're talking about. Personally, that's how I feel about it. They're not really coming from this place of really touching this place. So anyway, that makes me sad. So that's part of why I'm doing this work, to say, oh, that's real, and it's a process. And I hear it. I hear you.
Yes, that's deeply bugged me too. And I don't think it's a complete admission. I think there's a lot of code switching and different messaging, probably in American Zen, definitely in Zen Community of Oregon. And I feel like there's times talking to different audiences, one, and then two, working through things in a mentorship in the Sanzen room in a relationship with a teacher, and a lot of the less rosy, a more bloody molting type work might really be that. And yeah, I think there is sometimes like a real desire to be nice or good, or a certain kind of weird, like unpacked desire to be clean or pure coming out of like a Christian church background. Like our community's leaders, definitely a lot of them, including the senior teachers, definitely grew up in Christian churches. So I don't know. But I definitely feel like sometimes if you don't, if it's not explicitly said, then it's easy to feel invisible. Plus, if you say it explicitly, it might prevent, delay people from starting who maybe should do other work before they really go full throttle towards something energetic. And maybe because if you buy the farm, you're cornered, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Love it. Anybody else wanna go another direction with the conversation or whatever? I love hearing from people or the same. Please keep going. Yeah, anything. It's an open discussion.
I guess I would just say I think it's um really hard to um really let go in probably any community. And you know, like whether it's a monastery or your family or something, it's just there's so many, there's just so much around you that's built up that um um I think like with letting go, you kind of need like a testing ground. At least I do, because um um I mean, just speaking from my experience, um really letting go for me of uh I don't know, some sort of grounding of like Zen as like my life. Really letting go of that was very freeing, but it also kind of set things loose in a way that I didn't, and I still don't really have, full. I don't have an understanding of, and so there are all these times where, you know, I'm kind of just trying things out. Like I'm just things are leading me somewhere, and if I'm staying open to it, it happens, and then I can kind of see, mm, like I didn't handle that very well, or I didn't connect with that person at that moment, or you know, I was an asshole or something, or I wasn't listening. And, just because I'm just so not skillful, you know. Um, so you kind of need a testing ground, to like, or a place where you're kind of ready to kind of like, all right, I'll let go and I'll just see what happens. Um, and I think that's really hard in a lot of communities. it's just, especially in a lot of Zen communities where that kind of letting go is kind of, it's like almost antithetical to like how people are supposed to behave. You're supposed to get more stable and like, put together or whatever. And if you're not, then you're really fucking up or whatever, But also, I mean, there are other ways like I can say like in a relationship too, I mean, um, you can't you can't do everything. You can't just do anything in a relationship and not, you know, create some long-term karma, you know? So it's tricky, I think. And I'm still really figuring that out for myself.
Yeah, I love what you said about you need to test it and all that, and I think that's really true. Yeah.
I just wanted to chime in here too a little bit. I just like freed myself from work for 10 minutes. I closed this door so that my work people don't know what's going on. I find that the main difficulty I have, like June was saying, with relationships, you can't just always do whatever you feel like doing. Um, I find that like trying to orient my child, like he's 16, he's deeply into trying to figure out his own identity, right? So he's trying to use a lot of, and he doesn't know what he's getting into in life, but he's very like scared of it, like anybody would be at 16. Um, and so he's just like dealing in concepts and symbols and all this stuff, like all these like abstract ideas about his life, like constantly. Um, I hear you. Are you having trouble hearing me, Corey? Because I hear your I see you're like pointing your ear. See with your ears and like listen with your eyes, or okay, your connection is crappy. Okay, okay. Um, yeah, and it's just interesting because like I basically he's playing a different game than I'm playing now. I'm trying to lose a lot of that, and he's trying to like work with that first to build himself in a certain way, and like build his self control and his ability to like like make decisions with a certain kind of intentionality or a certain what we would probably consider an illusion in our world, like playing with that illusion as the primary thing that he's trying to build. And so like a lot of times um I I certainly played that game, that's something I did, right? um I'm doing the corporate thing, doing the, education up my ass, it's like way too much of that. And um um I don't really have much to say about it except that like I can't let go of that game entirely while I'm still his like primary advisor in life. I can't tell him like don't do what people do at your age. Do what people at my age do at my age. Like no, doesn't make sense. Anyway, it's just sort of an observation. But you know, I do have a joke. Um, yeah, see, like all I have to do is say that to you, Corey, and you'll laugh. I don't even have to have one. Um, um, what do you call somebody who gets into Buddhism when their children leave home? I wish you, I would, yeah, an empty nester. Anyway, I'm gonna mute myself here.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, I think like kind of going off what June was talking about a little bit, and maybe just kind of also related to a comment that Corey you made in class, like sort of like letting go of the safety valve. You know what I mean? It's like, but you can't actually let go of the safety valve because it's not safe, right? Like like for example, in a relationship or in a family, or you know, but you can. You just it's not gonna go well. So it feels like there's very precious few spaces where it is actually really safe and wise to actually not like there's some directions that you just I don't know. Yeah. Like I feel like I should find a place where there aren't like things in the room that I might break. You know what I mean? Um, or maybe it's about figuring out how to let go without moving physically or something like that. I'm not sure. Yeah.
I think you're all making very much sense to me, because I'm sort of at a place where like these waves are coming that that is making me see that the way I built this life was not meant for letting go. And then I go somewhere to train and I completely let go. And it's extremely freeing, and I'm having a lot of trouble incorporated in sort of this daily life. Yeah. And it's making me sort of like a little claustrophobic or something. Like, yeah, it just want to run away. Yeah.
Michael, you're muted. If you're talking to us, you're muted.
Yeah, that's great because probably what I was going to say will be forgotten in time. No, like basically, um, what I found helpful about a lot of practice and about other things in my life where things go wrong or just being stupid sometimes. If you can really figure out how to let go, then your life will come back anyway and tell you what it needs. And like you might think you know what you're supposed to be doing at every minute of your life, and just like live in that channel of thinking that you know what you're supposed to be doing. And you won't feel much of anything if you're in that channel. Like you'll just be like you're turning the next page, turning the next page, turning the next page. And then like you blow it up and like, oh, well, I actually love these people. So I better do what, you know, I better do what I'm supposed to do here, and I'll figure it out as I go. And that becomes the new challenge to like work within this perpetually let go person that you are, trying to figure out what has to happen from minute to minute, with just you and what you know and what the situation is telling you at that moment. And that's feels better than just like following the rules. But I can't really say why. Like I can't say like one way is better than the other. I think I just got so fucking fatigued by the first way, and I never really wanted to do it all. You know, I just like I have a lot of teenagery feelings toward that guy, you know, right now. So I can't say that I'm better. Just like this is just the choice that was made, you know, the thing that worked out, that's trying to work out. Anyway. So I'm in favor of occasionally blowing up your life if you can. You know, if you can figure out a way to like restart things every decade or so. If there's a way to do that, just like try it.
I mean, yeah, I would say that um well, Nick, how old are you again? You're like 28 or something?
Yeah, I'm 28.
Yeah, I feel like 20s you get a higher quotient of blowing up your life. Um so you're good. Um I also like I would say like I think there are definitely some times where like letting it all out is I found to be the best way of, you know, kind of taking the risk. Also because I mean again I'm kind of talking from a relationship perspective, but like I think that um there is a way that it can build trust and strengthen a relationship in the right circumstance, you know. um so you know that kind of honesty is I think is important too. um I I'm not saying I know exactly when, um but I think I don't think it's quite as straightforward as like I can totally let go when I'm practicing, and then when I'm not practicing it's always going to be a problem. Like even if it's like an anger explosion or something, I do think that there are times where that's the best, you know, best thing to happen. Um, um, but I think also like um I'm not certain on this. I'm really kind of exploring right now this stuff. But a lot of the stuff that's come up for me recently um um has been I think um you know kind of like what there's the kind of gross level of just letting things go, letting things out, letting things fly. And then there's stuff underneath that. And um like the stuff that's underneath that is rarely um destructive. It's more protective or something. It's super vulnerable. So, you know, like um it's really tricky. And but I think that, maybe there's this way that um the superficial thing that wants to come out is actually not what really wants to come out. And it takes a lot of skill to kind of get underneath that, and feel what's underneath that. Um, and I think, that's kind of what you're challenged to do, because if you didn't have that challenge, maybe you'd always just keep coming out on that superficial level, and it wouldn't go deeper.
Well, there are all these like psychological patterns where you're angry, or a person's angry because they're afraid, and they're afraid because they really love something and they're afraid of losing it. And if you can just let go of that, the anger layer and the fear layer, and just like do things out of the love layer, that's like an example of this. It's an example of how it can work. Just being concrete about it. I don't know. But I've seen that happen to me like a million times.
Yeah, and I think it's not even always so psychological, like, um and I think that's one of the values of the practice. Like, recently I was I was standing, I was just standing, and I was really in it. I was just really kind of locked in standing. All of a sudden this like crash happens right next to me, and what was that? And Dai was like, my partner, she's like, oh shit. She's like, come over here. And I come over, and somehow she had pulled the blind wrong on our window, and had pulled the whole blind off of the thing. And I had this tomato plant that I was growing, like I was really raising. And I really suck at tomatoes. I can't do it. And it was really going somewhere, and I was really happy. It was really kind of getting big. And I was like, maybe this year. And she had just obliterated the tomato plant. Like, just the whole thing was ripped up. And I was just like, I can't believe it. That was the one tomato plant that was going somewhere. And she felt bad and everything. But I was like, whatever. I went back to standing. And I was just like so pissed because it was my tomato plant. Um, and uh, I just kind of stood there being really pissed for a while, and then at some point it was kind of like, whatever, it's just a fucking tomato plant. Um, but like, it was interesting because then underneath that there are all these movements in my system that I couldn't really understand. And I didn't know what it was. And if I wasn't standing, I maybe it would have just been anger or something, but it wasn't. um it was just, you just can't label it like that. It's just, there are these movements, and there's more and more movements. And then all of a sudden there was just this weird uh vulnerability. Like, if I let these movements pass on, something bad is going to happen. Like, I can't just let these things move on. um I couldn't identify why. I couldn't put a psychological, it's just, I can't let this stuff move on. And then, slowly it's just like, you kind of stand with that, and okay, maybe I can, you know like, what if I did, what would actually happen? What would actually happen? What would actually be left? um and um and it just got kind of more and more vulnerable like that, until um I don't really know what happened. It just, like, my system kind of shifted. um and like, I have no idea what that was. I have no idea what psychological thing that was, or you know um I mean, there was fear. but I can't, there's not many words I can put to it, but that kind of process, I don't think I could go through that in a way without letting go of the ideas around it, and just feeling. So yeah.
Love it. I have a little short story, hopefully short. There, when I was in Japan, I liked to go down on the free day. There was this bookstore I liked to go to, and there was this manga called Vagabond. Do you know this, Jun? Vagabond. It's about Musashi.
I know it. I haven't read it though. But yeah.
I was like in, the 2000 something, and it's great. It's about Musashi. And anyway, there's this there are these two masters. One of them is from the Yagyu clan, okay, and the other is this like monk. They have this spear that they use, okay, and they were like the expert swords masters, and so what happens is you go around, you challenge everybody. That's your thing. You go challenge everybody, and then you defeat them, and then you're the master, and everyone knows you're the master. And there was this this swords master had come through to this temple where these monks do this long sword work, and these two super intense martial arts masters are there, and they're geniuses, and they're the most technically amazing, and then this teacher comes. He's like so soft. He's so soft. He comes and he's so vulnerable, and he's there, and they go and they're to get ready to duel with him. They and this is what this is a really interesting for me, because I was working on what is relaxation and what is really chi and what is really brightness and what is letting go. And what I saw, and so there's this part where they say, how do you do this? And he says, I'm one with heaven and earth, and how could you fight me? There's no fight. You can't fight me, and so it's like this example of someone who really long time have taken that safety valve off. There's no safety valve. They're just there, and they're dramatically relaxed, and they're dramatically vulnerable. And in that, they're working in this free way, this liberated way. So all of their swords work has been to get to this place of freedom. And that was really good for me, because I didn't really understand what letting go really did. I felt like if I really let go, for one thing, all of my efforts would be, they would kind of slide off, and they would fizzle. All my efforts I'd made, they would fizzle, and I would then be a helpless, worthless person or something like that. Right. And all my efforts were there to kind of make sure I was doing good. I was right. And I was doing good. And so seeing that, and also reading Cheng Manqing and seeing what relaxation really was, that showed me that, that when I really do let all that protection go, that there's this other type of brightness there, and that could be called chi, could be called something like that, or ki. And that was a really big change for me. And what I saw with people when I first started training in before Japan even was I saw these people who they weren't totally free. Okay, they were a little bit screwed up, you know what I mean? But they you could tell, oh, that's what they really are. And then there's some stuff there still, you know, and so that was deeply inspiring to me. Like they were this brightness, they were this freedom, they had really opened up in a certain way, and they had some stuff they were working on, you know, obviously, like but that was what was inspiring, seeing that, oh, that's what's coming through them, that this brightness is there, and that's what I can do. I can learn how to let that through me, that being totally vulnerable and being totally open to that. That's what that could be something I could give my life to. That I can see that that's really helpful. And so that's a lot of what my process has been in seeing, oh, that's what really letting go is. And, you know, maybe we have to find a way to do that, you know, in a way that's safe. Okay, we can't be just like out of control all the time in society, okay, but finding a way to work with that is, you know, it's a lot of what I'm trying to share with this work is you can, you know, begin to study that internally and feel, oh, I can let go there. So, pardon my babbling.
Yeah, it's a lot about trust, right? Like, and you know, you see the modern world, and I'm like, how could I ever trust that? Yeah.
And it's about saying something real, sharing something real on a somewhat continuous basis. Because that resolves this sense of being wrong and unmoored or unsure or bad. It resolves that sense of being bad, maybe just a little bit. So I was trying to think of something I could say right now, and along these lines, and what's coming to me is that I'm not unaware of some rage, and I'm also having to wonder if I'm picking up on things from new people in my life, and or is it mine and I don't know yet. I just don't know yet. But it could very well be this new person who's pushing too hard. Too hard. She even says it's too hard. So anyway, there's a lot, and I'm not sure. And whatever it is, it'll be okay. Yeah, we'll meet that too.
Another thing I want to throw out there is like I think people think that what will happen is they'll do practice and then they'll open up and then everything will be boring, or everything will be like small, or just really maybe everything will just be level. Like if I do practice enough, then I'll like figure out how to get my life so that it's level. You know what I mean? I'm gonna figure out practice will be a way for me to kind of level everything. And I think actually what I think I've found with people who I felt were really kind of living in this more freedom is that they actually all of that was full blast. So all their emotions, all that was full blast. And when it's full blast, which is totally scary, at first, right? Full blast. We think if I'm full blast, then I'll be chaos. I'll just be, I'll be making problems all the time. I'll be an idiot, all that. And actually, when we're full blast, then we're calm. We're calm when we're full blast. We think if we're full blast, then that's where we're scared. So we're hooked. We're caught here. I'm gonna strangle that so it doesn't come out. And that's where we're held. That's where we're gripping, is where we're kind of trying to contain that, whatever we're feeling, and make it stop and make it be something else. And so being full wide open is actually where we can really be with what's happening. And I think that's a lot of the struggle, is that we think, well, I'll do practice if it makes me just this way, but actually it makes you often the opposite. And when you're the opposite, then maybe you find the tanden. Maybe the tanden really shows up when you're really wide open. And that's part of what's just so scary about letting go. And but that's that's what I'm saying 1,000%. That's what I think we're doing. In is that we're opening up to that. We're letting all that open, and then that's where we really find this equanimity. But you see 75%, 80% of practitioners maybe trying to do something else. Often that'll be the case. They'll try to control their environment. They'll try to control everything. And maybe at some point they'll let go, and that'll be so beautiful. And maybe it's happening to them, but maybe they don't see it. But yeah, that's what I fully believe in. So where the pyrotechnics are, that's where we're gripping. That's where we're gripping. Where the so when we can be open to that, then the pyrotechnics will settle. That's the trip about it. So June, you want to say? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm babbling too much now too, but I've always liked that idea that where you're feeling it is where you're gripping. And I just think that goes really deep, because like, again, related to this stuff, like another way of saying what I was trying to say was like that, like, process of standing and just feeling all the stuff moving. There's this level of it moving, and it's kind of intense and almost aggressive, or kind of ferocious, and then, like, slowly, as I'm kind of feeling that, then there's another level of feeling of it's part, like, on just a really, really, really specific level of, this is moving, like shooting through my leg or something, but I'm sort of like, it's like a pressure gun or something. I'm kind of pressuring it, and then it shoots. But that point where the pressure happens, then you let go and it doesn't shoot. This movement, it kind of opens. It becomes smooth. And then the character of the whole thing changes. But you think, or I think that's me being open, is just letting this shoot this way, and that kind of thing. But then there's a way in which, like, actually on a finer level, I'm resisting something until it shoots in this way,
Really appreciate everyone and your input and your presence here. It's really wonderful. Thank you so much. We have our little mini retreat on Saturday for those that can make it. Love everyone's voice here, and I also on the Discord. It's great to see people chiming in about things, and anyway, I appreciate everyone's sincerity. Probably everyone has to run. Thanks so much, everybody. Yeah, tell us what you need and we'll try to help you with it. See you soon. Okay. Thanks so much. See you later.